Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is the Vulgar Marxist. I have never really understood what a thought is. Not the thing occurring inside your head, but the anachronism, that hoe over there. If a woman wants to have no frills, no strings attached sex every night of the week, why would you criticize this? I mean, all you're doing is costing yourself an opportunity, possibly more than one. So I've always constructed thought as all show and no go. A woman who shows up to a bar, flirts with tons of guys, gets tons of drinks bought for her, then looks at her phone going and goes, "Oh my goodness, I need to be somewhere else. Goodbye, everybody," and heads out the door. That is someone who is expecting others to benefit them without providing a reciprocal benefit in return. Which brings us to the Mythicist Milwaukee Conference. This is the second year I have gone, and I am nothing but disappointed. Now, last year I showed up for Sargon, watched his opponent storm off the stage in a huff, and left the conference in disgust. I was simply too outraged that someone would have the nerve to trounce off stage rather than answer questions from the audience. It was just absolutely absurd. This year, I was able to attend for 5 of the 7 conversations before I got so disgusted I simply couldn't take it anymore and left. So this year I showed up around 12:30, watched Karen's conference. The reason we keep interrupting, by the way, is I have a sore throat right now, so I keep having coughing fits. Watched Karen's conference, Impact on Social Justice, which I walked out halfway through of because it was obvious that some black guy hadn't even remotely prepared for the conversation. Social commentary outlets versus mainstream media, impact of intersectionality. I was there for the lovely bomb threat. Thank you, whatever dickbag did that. And then I watched half of the conference on transgender issues before going, "This is ridiculous, I'm out." Now, let's go through them. I don't know what Armored Skeptic, Jacqueline Glenn, and Creationist Cat did. I've heard that was actually a very good discussion. I don't know what Sargon of Akkad and Richard Carrier got up to. I've heard that was a horribly bad discussion. But of the 5 discussions I saw, the only one that remotely reproached the effort of actual argument and debate was, hilariously enough, somebody who wasn't supposed to be there. On the schedule, Chris Ray Gun is listed as being in the social commentary, and instead they had Tim Pool. And I kid you not, if this entire conference had been a World of Tanks match, Tim Pool did an 11 kill carry. All right? Like, literally, I think he was the only one who showed up to this conference with his pants on, with his gloves on, ready to fight. And he did. He did a hell of a job in that debate. But he is the only one of the 5 I saw who actually did a decent job. Karen's opponent, Karen Garst, solved the problem of the debate by preemptively agreeing with everything she thought Karen Strawn might potentially say. As I said, some black guy showed up and pretty much went, "Yeah, I don't care about politics. I just make comedy." Okay, then why the hell are you on the stage? If you're not going to show up and have a debate, what are you doing here? The Quartering and the other two panelists on the media conference with Tim Pool did a decent job. Pretty much everyone reached the conclusion the media is dying because they're not even trying to compete anymore, which is the same conclusion everyone else has kind of reached. The intersectionality conference was, frankly, a shit show. Christiosity decided it was her prerogative to filibuster the discussion by screaming at the audience about statistics. I'm not going to show the statistics here because the baseline statistics refute them. In order for what she said to be true, it would necessarily follow that not only have Hispanic Americans not ever been oppressed, but they're less oppressed than European Americans. She literally asserted that the level of oppression of a group of people can be measured by infant mortality. A statistic so grossly absurd, I don't even want to go into it. Like, that is just absolute and total garbage that I'm not going to deal with here. Because I don't feel like pulling stats for it. I don't even feel like looking up whatever the hell research she was trying to cite on stage. I really, really wish they would let the speakers use the screen behind them instead of having generic picture. Let them post stats, for Christ's sake. It would have added so much to the debate if, like, they could post statistics on what they're talking about instead of just rattling off numbers and there's no context, no citation, nothing. But that's an aside. I only stayed for the first few minutes of the transgender conference because after the intersectional conference, I was just absolutely disgusted. I couldn't even stand it. Brittany Simon did a hell of a job. The other moderator, this bald bearded guy, did a hell of a job. It was obvious they were both trying to pull the discussion in the direction it needed to go, but it wasn't there. The baseline people who are informed and want to have a conversation about a major issue wasn't there for 4 of the 5 panels I saw. It just wasn't. Which brings me to my criticism of Mythcon as a thought. Now, this is not a commentary on any of the apparel any of the women present were wearing. Actually, it was fairly conservative in my view, but whatever. Yeah, no, nothing about any of the women present. This is entirely about the 4 guys leading the conference. And I understand their conference is underwater. I get that. They need money. But if they want this conference to grow, they can't simply be meet and greet handshake with high-profile YouTubers, half of whom are hiding in the green room for the entire conference. Now, don't get me wrong here. Armored and Shoe, every single break, they were out with the audience, chatting with people, taking pictures with people, working the crowd. I kid you not, they are right now the king and queen of skepticism. Blair White, every single break, out there shaking hands, chatting with people. Same with Karen Strong. Same with the Quartering. Sargon was nowhere to be seen in the 4 hours I was at the conference, nor was Jacqueline Glenn. Okay, I can think of Tim Pool, again, actually like sitting at a booth, letting people walk up and argue with him. Props out to that guy. I've never watched a Tim Pool video. I'm going to start watching him, because if this is the kind of guy, if this is how he acts when he shows up to a conference, I want to listen to what he says when he has the microphone all to himself. I may not agree with him, but I want to hear what he has to say. He deserves respect. Several of the people, I don't really know what Millennial Woes looks like. I didn't see her or anyone who looked kind of like her. But if this is supposed to be, here's your great, amazing YouTubers, shake hands, get your photos. First of all, I'm not paying $75 for that. I might pay $20 for that. I'm sure as hell not paying $75. Second of all, it needs to be made clear to the great YouTubers that they're supposed to be down in the audience hall, shaking hands and getting photos taken with people, which several of the more significant ones could not be asked to do. That said, a meet and greet is not a skeptic conference, okay? I paid $75 to see serious argumentation on topics of note in modern society, and what I got instead was a bunch of people sitting on stage, either avoiding having to argue, admitting they had nothing to argue about, or trying their level damnedest to prevent anyone else from being heard. And it's not the moderator's fault. It is not even remotely the moderator's fault. It is the people who organized this, who either did not bother to find people with opposing views on the subject, or earnestly believe that simply having enough high-profile YouTubers will get them the audience they want to have. It won't, guys, okay? If I want to see high-profile YouTubers, I go to VidCon. I don't go to VidCon because I couldn't possibly care about high-profile YouTubers. I want to see a debate. And you got 1 out of 5. It is probably hubristic of me to volunteer my services at this point. I have a 50-person channel. Nobody knows who the hell I am. Actually, no, Quartering did know who I was, though he kind of like edged away when he recognized my name. So I probably don't have that good a reputation. But in any event, I will happily argue several different subjects if people wish me to. But for Christ's sake, you guys got to get serious argumentation on that stage. And I was serious about my recommendation. Let them use the back wall projection to post statistics. What the hell can it hurt? At least they'll have data behind their arguments, and we might be able to write down whatever the heck study Christiosity was trying to talk about. I was going to do something else here, but I'll do an end note. Sargon has apparently decided to call politics quits for a while. I can't blame him, really. I mean, apparently, I don't even remember who the heck he was arguing with, but the guy did such a lousy job, even Sargon was disappointed. And this is the second year he's been called in. We need to do something about the level of political debate. And this conference should be working to raise the bar. And to be very blunt, it's not.